Does everybody know what time it is?
Time to count your marbles because we're going to decide who.
Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome to Movie Memory Machine, the only podcast about forgotten movies that puts the gee in geezer.
And Grunt Work, the only podcast about the TV series Home Improvement with all the strength of 6 security guards.
I am your host, Landon Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Caps. Truman, it's good to see you.
Landon, it is all right to be seen. I am excited to be back on this feed. It feels like a homecoming.
The machine has sent us so far back in time that we burst through another dimension into our old podcast.
Yes. And now, Landon, maybe people listening who don't listen to our new podcast don't know what machine you're talking about. Is this just any old machine, or is this a machine that relates to memories, perhaps, in some fashion?
Yeah. If they missed the very first line I said in this episode, welcome to Movie Memory Machine. The titular machine in the movie memory fashion is the one that is making us do a forgotten Tim Allen movie as we cross over episodes today.
And this is really special for me because for the entire run of Grunt Work, our podcast about the TV series Home Improvement, I would say to Landon again and again, is this the season when we watch Redbelt, the mixed martial arts noir David Mamet drama starring Tim Allen in a dramatic role? And Landon would always say, no, his only dramatic role. Yes, unless you count Crazy on the Outside as a drama. I mean, I didn't laugh. It made you cry
when my TV broke.
Exactly. It's tragic sacrifice.
You know what, Truman? I think by diving into the deep lore of both podcasts, we're alienating the listenership of both of them. But before we begin, just want to remind you all that we are drumming up support for the Grunt Work Podcast Network this month, which is host to both Grunt Work and Movie Memory Machine, plus a growing library of other ad-free artist-owned shows. And you can support us in one of 5 ways, or 5 of 5 ways if you really want to.
Or 3 of 5 ways, 4 of 5 ways. The opportunities are endless. Although, mainly it's just 5.
It's a factor of 5, yes. So 5 to the 5th. Is that right? Is that how you do math? Is that how you do exponentials?
Fans, if you remember our many struggles with math over the course of both of our podcasts, you should really keep supporting us so we can maybe one day learn it.
5 minutes in. Here are the 5 ways that you can support us. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod, where it's a pay-as-you-want system, but for as little as $1 a month, you can support any of the shows or all of the shows on the Grunt Work Podcast Network and get access to bonus content, but more importantly, your contributions go to helping keep this show and all of the shows on the network afloat and ad-free.
And we all could use a little bit less advertising in our lives, couldn't we? Even though that is kind of where I make my career.
Yeah, I'm at my saturation point with ads, so let us be your ad-free sanctuary. Way number 2 that you can support us is to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Even if you don't listen to things there, if you can sign in, leave a review, leave a rating, it really helps to get the show in front of new audiences who might not have heard of us before. And if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate us on whatever podcatcher that you do.
The more ratings we have, the more people can look at us and see, oh, we're actually serious about this. We're not just some flash-in-the-pan situation. We've been putting out episodes, we've been impressing people, and we've got a fan base. Make yourselves heard.
The third way that you can support us is by following us, liking us, and sharing us on social media wherever you are engaged right now. We aren't super active on social media at the moment, but we are available at those places. The 2 social media networks where we are active is YouTube and Letterboxd. So be sure to subscribe and follow and engage with us on those platforms because it helps us drive up numbers and get more people seeing us.
And you know we love numbers.
The fourth way, and maybe the most important way, is to tell someone about the show. 1-to-1, a word-of-mouth recommendation goes so much further into actually getting someone to listen to the show than just sharing it, blindly on a social media network, though that helps in a different way. If you can tell someone, tell a friend, reach out and touch someone with Movie Memory Machine.
But only touch someone who has agreed that it's okay for you to touch them. Because we don't want our podcast to be associated with anything untoward.
Yeah, exactly. Ask someone if you can recommend a show to them, and then recommend the show to them.
Yes. Just don't go out there recommending podcasts to people willy-nilly. That used to be okay culturally, but it's not anymore. We're trying to be better.
But you can recommend the podcast to Chili Willy, because that dude seems chill.
Listen, if he listened to our podcast, I would die of joy. That penguin is super neat.
The fifth and final way to support the show is to join our Discord network, which used to be a Patreon-only bonus, but we have opened it up to everyone because in this world of chaotic social media, we really wanted to create a safe space for people to have positive film conversations. You can do that by getting access on our website, which is moviememorymachine.com. Sign up, join our Discord, and engage in the conversation. We would want to see you there.
Yeah, if you've watched the TV series Cheers and you've ever wanted to go to a place where there's just a bunch of cool people hanging out and cracking wise, that's basically our Discord channel. So get in on that. We don't serve beer, though.
And that's the 5 ways. Please support us in one of the ways that you can.
Yes, and if you're someone who has been a fan of Grunt Work and hasn't made the jump to our other podcasts, if you like Landon's and my specific brand of bullshit, it's all kind of the same thing. You can get just more of that Grunt Work experience, but with maybe a slightly less of a home improvement flavoring. Try it; it's great.
Except for today, which is a perfect blend between this is the rosé episode. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No. You and I went to a vineyard and learned about rosé. Rosé isn't a mix of white wine and red wine. It is how the grapes are processed.
Yeah, I think this is more of a red blend, if you will.
Okay, I know nothing about wine.
Despite that trip to the vineyard, perhaps the Wisconsin vineyard experience doesn't give you quite as robust an appreciation of the viticultural process.
Yeah, true.
So, but today we discuss Redbelt.
The machine has made us watch the 2008 movie Redbelt, correct?
Yes.
Truman, take a bow, enter center stage, and give us your synopsis.
Okay, do I want to draw a marble first, though, to decide if like which one of us is going to be podcasting with some kind of handicap?
If you draw the black marble, you have to do the synopsis with your tongue tied.
I mean, I feel kind of like I'm always doing this podcast with my tongue tied. Mike Terry, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who runs a small martial arts studio in Los Angeles. He adheres to a strict code of ethics, refusing to participate in lucrative mixed martial arts competitions because he believes it to be dishonorable to the institution of Jiu-Jitsu, even though his studio is on the verge of bankruptcy. When Mike uses his martial arts skills to rescue aging Hollywood action star Chet Frank, played by Tim Allen, from a bar fight,
What?
Chet shows his gratitude by gifting Mike an expensive gold watch and offering him a job as a martial arts advisor on his next film. Chet's wife Zena, played by Rebecca Pidgeon, goes into business with Mike's dressmaker wife Sandra, played by Alice Braga. At first, Mike and Sandra are thrilled by the opportunity to be in business with the Franks, but when the gold watch turns out to be stolen, and when Zena abandons her business deal and leaves Sandra deeply in debt to a loan shark, Mike must compromise his ethics and enter a mixed martial arts competition run by a shady fight promoter played by Ricky Jay in order to save his studio and his wife.
Truman, let's financialize the problem.
Okay.
But by that I meant let's go into specs, but...
Oh, okay. Well, Ricky Jay gives that piece of advice at one point. Let's financialize the problem. Most of the problems I have in my life have already been financialized, so I'm actually looking to go the opposite direction from that.
I flagged it just because I don't think financialize is a word, and I love that it's in this script by Tony Award-winning writer David
Pulitzer-winning writer
Yes.
David Mamet. Yeah.
Yes.
It is, but I mean, if anyone has the authority to create new words out of the whole cloth, I mean, I think, to be fair, in David Mamet's defense, I think we, on our various podcasts, have also inadvertently created a lot of words that aren't actually there. No.
Christendom. Never. Nope, I've never done that.
Yeah, grunt creep. That was a thing everyone was saying back in the day.
Let's go into some specs about this film, shall we? Give it some context of when and where and how and why as we look out the window of this time-traveling space machine we're in to the weekend of May 2nd, nay, May 9th, 2008.
Are we going to actually answer the why of this movie just by looking at the technical specs? I feel like the why of this movie is kind of our job. I feel like that's not a thing IMDb can provide.
Well, these specs come from more than just IMDb, but let's go through a few.
Wow, ruffling feathers over here.
This was initially released May 2nd, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Limited release.
New York and LA only.
Released wide 1 week later on May 9th, 2008 by Sony Pictures Classics.
And I'm going to say that Sony Pictures Classics put this character-driven MMA movie in 2008 on, like, 1,800 screens.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the initial theaters that this was released into, in its limited release, was 6.
Okay. Well, yeah, like three theaters in LA, 3 theaters in New York. Yeah.
When it was expanded the week later, it expanded to 1,379.
Wow, I overshot.
Yeah.
But
there's some interesting information that comes from that we'll get to in just a minute.
Makes sense to me, though. This is not the sort of movie that feels like blockbuster material.
Yeah, and I'm curious because you're the guy who looks up the critic reviews on this. That maybe that's what some people felt about this movie when it came out. Mm-hmm. Okay, where does it rank in the box office when it comes out? Okay, as far as Movie Memory Machine is concerned, this is our lowest ranking initial release.
Wow.
As in the box office, it comes in at number 40.
Well, six screens will do that to you. Even if one of those screens is in Madison Square Garden, you're still not going to hit the numbers you need.
Agreed. But when it comes out wide the following week, it only rises to number 11. So at no point in its run does it crack the top 10 box office.
And again, I feel like David Mamet is not even trying to be the kind of guy who cracks the top 10 box office. I mean, was Glenn Ross, was that a number 1 film back in its day?
No, but there's something to be talked about in the comparison between this film and that film, and I feel like we'll get to that later in the episode. Let's give a little bit of context for, like, what's the vibe? What's the flavors of this weekend, May 9th, 2008? What do you think's in theaters? I've got a list of the top 10. You want to hear them?
Yeah. Tell me, what were the other movies? What was competing with Redbelt? Because this movie is all about competing.
You're going to be excited about some of them, I know that much. Number 1 in the box office, starting what would be the ramifications we're still feeling to this day, Iron Man.
Oh no. You're telling me people would rather see Iron Man than Tim Allen's dramatic debut? Shame. Imagine if Redbelt had done Iron Man numbers and instead we were sitting in 2025 talking about the newest Redbelt cinematic universe, like, TV show that's based on, like, Mike and Sandra's, like, grandchildren.
Number 2 in the box office is one of your favorites, I know. Speed Racer.
Oh, Speed Racer. Oh, okay. That really just underlines how fucked Speed Racer was right out of the gate, that they had to go up against Iron Man. Oof.
Yes. Both opened the same weekend too.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Going down the next couple, just in quick succession here. What Happens in Vegas, the Ashton Kutcher movie. Maid of Honor. Baby Mama. Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Okay. Everyone in that movie turned out great. Okay.
Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Wow, they did, didn't they? I feel like I still have a stronger memory of that movie than like 3 of the other ones you've said.
Coming in at number 9 is Nim's Island.
Okay, well, no, that's receded even further from my memory. What the hell is Nim's Island?
And then coming in at number 10 is one that is indelible to your mind and experience. It's the movie 21.
A movie I still have not seen. I mean, I've seen the box for it multiple times on the same shelf in my roommate's apartment.
So that's the top 10 box office for May 9th, 2008. Redbelt, though, will you, was in theaters for 10 weeks total from May 2nd to July 17th.
I think... I gotta just say, though, if you're a certain kind of guy, it's actually a great weekend at the movies because you can conceivably see both the mixed martial arts movie and the card-counting Getting Rich in Vegas movie.
Yeah.
Like, there's an overlap in that kind of guy.
There is. Maybe we'll get to that as well.
I feel like we will.
This had a $7 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
Domestically grosses $2.3 million. I said that exactly.
How many
I
decimal
meant to.
points are we talking about in there?
$2.3 million.
That sounds more like it.
Yeah, internationally, $300,000.
Was that? Did they not show this in Brazil then? Is that what I?
Maybe not. They show this maybe in one theater internationally. I don't know.
Yeah,
but that brings the total box office to $2,600,000. That is less than $7 million.
That is indeed less than $7 million. Folks who don't listen to Movie Memory Machine won't know this, but we just watched the very expensive movie Sahara, in which one boat chase cost $2.3 million to film. So basically,
yeah.
Redbelt cost 3 Sahara boat chases, and it earned like 1 Sahara boat chase.
I like this as a new metric for analyzing our box office gross.
It cost like 1.5 Gretel and Hansels, and it earned 0.47 Gretel and Hansels. Yeah, this is great. The show is not getting any less incomprehensible.
Nope. Redbelt, where was this on your radar when it came out on May 9th, 2008? Truman, tell me what your Redbelt experience is before recording this episode.
My Redbelt experience was I was recording a podcast with this guy in like 2018, and he said, "Hey, Tim Allen, the star of Home Improvement, did a David Mamet movie. Maybe we'll watch it one day." And then
Really?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I knew nothing about Redbelt, even though I'm the kind of
Grunt Work was your introduction to the concept of Grunt Belt. Jesus Christ.
Grunt Belt.
The Grunt Work Podcast Network makes constellations of all of its shows, and we are stuck in the Grunt Belt right now.
It's at the end of the movie, he beats up the other guy, he gets into the ring, he motions to them to lower the microphone, and then he just records a podcast about Home Improvement. And then us crying, we come out of the stands and give him the Grunt Belt.
If you do watch this movie with subtitles on, there is a lot of parentheses grunting.
That's good. The hearing impaired should be able to enjoy the visceral nature of this movie as much as everyone else.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm surprised though that I thought that was part of the excitement during Grunt Work is like, I've been waiting to do this episode for a long time and we just never got to it. I wasn't aware that you were turned onto it by doing the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily a huge follower of Tim Allen's film career before we got all mixed up in his life with the other podcasts. So, no, I only found, like, the promotional campaign definitely did not get to me. I was not aware of it. But also, I am like, not... If something is happening in the world of mixed martial arts, I am trying very hard to avoid knowledge of that. Yeah.
You weren't in LA when this was released, were you?
No, sir. I was in Eugene, Oregon, getting an edumacation, and it did not play. I think at the one independent movie theater in Eugene where I saw Eagle vs. Shark that same year. Fun details like these you can get on Movie Memory Machine. You're acting as though this was the kind of cinematic event of the summer. Were you aware of it? Did you see it in theaters?
I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I was one of the audience members for its limited release weekend.
Oh, wow.
Me and one other person went to go see Redbelt in... I can't remember the name of the theater off of the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah, it was one of those AMC theaters. Yeah, I think might be
Rialto
closed now.
or something like that.
Yeah, that might be the one. Yeah.
Anyway, small, tiny little theater. Me and one other person. You know who that other person was?
Who was that other person?
SNL alumni Tim Meadows.
Okay, so name dropping continues, but you're sure this didn't happen at the 2004 Sundance Film Festival, where every other experience in your life occurred?
I am certain about that.
So when you say you and one other person saw it, and that person was Tim Meadows, it wasn't like you called up your old bud Tim Meadows and said, "Hey, do you want to see Tim Allen's dramatic debut?"
He is from Detroit.
So, did Tim Meadows like the movie?
Yeah, I think we both walked out of it like. I don't know. I didn't have a conversation with him. You didn't talk,
but you're assuming he liked it. Did he have like a huge smile on his face? Was he strutting out of the theater?
I was putting myself in the memory of how I felt walking out of the theater. Oddly, walking out of the theater was, for some reason, lingers in my head, and
the most memorable part of the movie was leaving. It's not even like I walked out of that movie because it was bad. It was just like the movie ended, and I was so happy to be free.
I mean, I have a few movies where I have a visceral memory of the part where we leave. Ask me about House of the Devil sometime. That's a story.
Oh, boy.
I don't know how Tim Meadows fucking felt about this movie. I'm not Tim Meadows. I can't speak for Tim Meadows. But I saw this in the theater. This movie kind of lingered in my head for... the entirety of its existence. Lost a lot of the details along the way. Honestly, I knew Tim Allen was in it. All the years that we did Grunt Work, I remember Tim Allen does a dramatic performance in Redbelt. Mm-hmm. If you had asked me what his role is, I would not have been able to tell you.
Okay, I mean, I would have been able to tell you at that point, because after you told me about the movie, I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I kind of knew he's playing an aging actor in the movie.
Yeah.
But when you watched it the first time, though, did you enjoy it in the theater? Did you walk away thinking this was a good movie?
I did, and I don't want to preview my verdict at the end of this episode, but I did enjoy it. Yeah, I appreciated... I mean... We talk about this a lot of this is still in the early days of me learning about film and being able to appreciate things that go against the grain a little bit in an intentional way. So being very accustomed to action films and fighting films, to see a film that does something different with that was very much up my kind of naive alley of oh wow, this is really important and different, and I'm assuming little Truman's voice here.
Yeah. Anytime a person becomes pretentious, they are me at the age of 12.
Do I still hold those thoughts of this being an intelligent take on the fight film? TBD. We'll find that out in our discussion today, but at the time I do remember really enjoying it.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm sure Tim Meadows probably felt the same way, but it was just two people in the theater. You were witnessing in real time why this movie would not be hugely profitable.
Pretty much, yes. That brings me to an important question I have to ask you about the movie Redbelt, about maybe life, philosophy, the way you live. Truman, do you live by the code of a warrior?
I live by the code of the keyboard warrior. If you follow me on Blue Sky, a friend who I knew in real life followed me on Blue Sky, and his first comment was, "Oh, wow, you've posted a lot." So, I mean, that's not a thing you love to hear. I think I definitely live by a code. However, I don't think it's the code of the warrior. I don't have the level of discipline. You know what? I've figured this out. I live by a code that you can appreciate. I live by the code of FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper on Twin Peaks.
Ooh. Okay, I'm listening.
His most valuable teaching is every day give yourself a present. Don't plan for it. just do it. So while Chiwetel Ejiofor's character in this movie lives a very rigorous and disciplined life of training and focus, I live a life of finding excuses to give myself treats, which is not I think the Warriors' ethos.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you're mindful. You're thoughtful. Are you? Are you living by the sword?
I am not living a samurai's life. No.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up.
He's living by a code of honor in this movie, and
Yeah.
I will say there are overlap between like the way he lives and the way I live. I'm very regimented. I'm very routine based.
Yeah.
But it's as a way to manage my anxiety and actually get sleep and accomplish the things I want to accomplish. I recognized very early on that I don't do well tackling each day as its own problem to solve.
Yeah.
So I'm very regimented, but without honor.
You're doing all of your mindfulness in the most dishonorable way possible. You're meditating in the middle of a crowded place where everyone has to turn and walk around you. You are burning incense and then throwing it into someone's house.
I close my eyes, I speak my mantra, and just focus on all my hatred for wanting to burn down every institution that I encounter.
Yeah, your mantra is fuck y'all.
You're not supposed to tell your TM word to people.
I'm sorry. I'll edit that out. I'll bleep it.
Okay, thank you. Let's start talking about Redbelt in terms of that philosophy, though.
Okay, well, let me say, I think that this movie's great success is that, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, Mike Terry, lives his life by this code that is very strict and just immediately apparent. Oh, he's a samurai. He's like a modern day samurai. He is all about honor and respect and bringing honor to things. And it is a testament to both the writing and his performance that he still seems like the coolest dude in the world. Like, he plays all of this with this degree of coolness about it, where it's like, he is very rigidly moral and ethical, but it's not like he's some silent, stoic, weeb kind of guy, but he's very charming, and he's self-effacing, and he, like, smiles, and he makes jokes, and it is very much... He is...
But not in like a Sam Jackson cool way.
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like...
No.
I get what you mean, but just to kind of bring viewers in, or listeners into who haven't watched this, like, he's not walking into the room with a wallet that says badass on it.
Yeah, exactly. He is very respectful and put together, but the way that he interacts, he very intentionally puts forth a kind of friendly, self-effacing, warm and outgoing vibe, because he's trying to, like, make people feel at ease around him, and, like, he's trying to, like, cultivate an air of serenity
Truman,
in a modern context. Yes.
I realized that his character, Mike Terry, is the polar opposite of Orson Fortune.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Speaking of lore, yes, he is not... He does not go into every situation scowling at people and looking for an excuse to punch people in the balls.
Yeah.
He is certainly not rich.
He walks into the room knowing that he's the most capable person in the room, whereas Orson Fortune is like, I'm so insecure, I have to prove it to y'all. And Mike is like, I'm going to walk in here and, like, if I'm invisible, all the better.
Yes, exactly. So he takes on the kind of code of a samurai, but in a way that kind of fits into a modern world, where it's not just like standing there very stoically and not betraying any emotion on your face. It's more just like, I'm going through life not trying to create conflict. I'm going through life trying to, lift people up and help people and put people at ease and not provoke anything. And I think it's a very interesting take on it.
It's essential to whatever success this film has. Because I could easily see this role having been written for, like, a Steven Seagal.
Boy.
A dude who has real life martial arts training and like is bringing just a vibe to the set.
Steven Seagal was camped outside David Mamet's house, like trying to get this role. This is the most Steven Seagal shit that he Steven Seagal thinks that he is Mike Terry in Redbelt at all times.
Yeah, casting Chiwetel in it, like who didn't have this martial arts background going into it. I mean, he trained rigorously for it, but balances it, because what I initially probably responded to as a 20-something in 2008 has turned into a kind of uncomfortable vibe. Like, if Chiwetel wasn't the main actor in this would have very kind of incel-y vibes to me.
Yes, it is an absolutely astounding performance from him that I this movie just would not work for me. This movie would be aggressively off-putting to me if it was not someone this charismatic in this role.
And I want to clarify, because I know that I've used the term incel-y before, but this one particularly feels like it's aligned with, like, I'm living a life of honor and, like, a very pointed and focused path, and, you know, I'm fighting or standing up for, like, injustices or perceived injustices. And, like, if this wasn't someone as talented and cool as Chiwetel in this role, like, it would just have this very, like, vibe to it, like, you don't want to fuck with me, you know, sort of vibe. Does that make any sense, or am I completely off base here?
No, you're completely making sense, because there's nothing aggressive about him, or there is no attempt to seem aggressive or to seem threatening from him at all. So that is what makes it, you know, the second you have to kind of flaunt that's when you're not the cool guy anymore.
But I feel like that's what so many people that, like, look to this sort of world kind of try to internalize, but their insecurities kind of pose it at, like, I don't know, I this is very unfair of me, but I picture, like, all those, like, old vines of, like, people in fedoras and stuff trying to be, you know, badass, and it just coming off as, like, if you were really internalizing this mantra, you wouldn't be posturing, you know?
Yeah.
But this is like the Bible for what they posture as.
Yes, yeah. I think that Mike Terry is probably the only person in the 21st century who could pull off a fedora. He could put one on and make it work, and it wouldn't be cringe. Basically, as someone who has encountered a lot of guys who are really passionate about Brazilian jiu-jitsu over my life, I think Mike Terry is one of the few of those types of dudes who I would actually want to spend an extended amount of time with, and that's a real achievement.
Okay, so, you know, I took karate, and I when I was a kid, and, you know, I will caveat that by saying, you know, since then I've wondered, like, is Little League karate in the middle of suburban Michigan really karate? Or is it just, like, an activity for kids to do outside of, you know, to allow their parents an extra hour to think?
No, Landon, I think all those little kids are actual killing machines. I think that if you get a black belt in Little League karate, you can you're a lethal weapon at that point. Your hands are, you know, you're like Bruce Lee.
Well, I was a black belt in karate as a kid at 11 or 12, I think. Maybe 10 or 11. It wasn't as close to teenagedom.
Yeah. More words that we're inventing along the way.
However, I you know, there are things I learned during those courses that I still know. That I think, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not putting myself in that kind of incel mindset of, like, I'll fuck up anyone who comes towards me, you know, like, believing I can take down anyone in a fight because I watched an action flick. But there are a specific set of circumstances in which I feel like I could defend myself better than the average person with a handful of things that I learned way back in the day.
So sort of like Liam Neeson, you're saying I have a specific set of circumstances under which I could kick your ass. Like
that wouldn't improve Taken. Just he's on the cell phone saying, "There's a special set of circumstances in which I will be able to get my daughter back. Please abide by these rules so that I can show my prowess."
All right, now listen. I'm going to come to you and I'm going to give you a little bowl with 3 marbles in it. And if you get the black marble, I'm going to get to tie you up. And those are the circumstances under which I can kick your ass.
When don't we start here? I mean, because we're going to have to backtrack to the front window shattering scene in a bit. But
yes,
I think a good access point to like getting into what happens in this film is the barroom brawl.
Yes,
the introduction of Chet Frank, a.k.a. Tim Allen.
Oh, boy.
And seeing Mike Terry in action for the first time.
Yes, because he's at a nightclub which is owned by his brother-in-law, and he has gone there with the intention of asking his brother-in-law for a loan to help keep his jiu-jitsu studio open, but he can't bring himself to do it per his Bushido code. But then, yeah, on the way out, Tim Allen is in there, Chet Frank's, trying to get a drink, and he winds up kind of instigating a bar fight with a young rapscallion, who I was so happy to see in this role. Can I tell
shocked.
everyone?
Please give the double J.
So the guy who punches Tim Allen in the face in this movie is played by Jake Johnson from New Girl, and a bunch of other things. I mean, I can't necessarily remember other stuff that he's been on, but beloved
Buddies.
Good time, fun guy, let's be cops, Jake Johnson.
No memory of him being in this movie, and was also someone who I'm like constantly, I don't know, relating to almost every role that he's playing. I'm just like, yeah, dude, you're speaking the truth to the situation the way that my mind works.
When I was in my 20s especially, I was kind of trying to live my life by the Jake Johnson code. I was just like, maybe if I can be kind of a slob, but funny and a little self-deprecating, but really quick-witted, like maybe that's gonna be what makes my life work.
Yeah, you love to see it. It was very cathartic after all the years of grunt work to see Tim Allen get clocked. Yeah.
This is why I'm kind of mad that you never let us watch it during the series, because I needed this. I needed to see Tim Allen acting a fool at a bar and getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Although, I'm going to say, I actually think that Tim Allen isn't being too much of a dick in this bar fight scene where he gets the treatment that he should have always gotten in every episode of Home Improvement.
I agree. Yeah. Okay, so like the impetus for the fight is Tim Allen, playing Chet Frank, actor, is in the bar getting a drink and offers a girl a few seats down, to buy her drink. Yeah, and turns out she is with Jake Johnson. Jake Johnson takes offense,
lucky her,
clocks him in the face, but we find out later that maybe through a bit of self-destruction, like Chet Frank, Tim Allen, he knew the girl was taken. He knew Jake Johnson was there and was trying to get into a bar fight.
Yeah. What if Jake Johnson was actually playing Jake Johnson? It wasn't just he wanted to get into a bar fight. It's like, I knew he was there. I wanted to get punched by the guy from New Girl. I feel like for his character getting second billing, or for Tim Allen getting second billing in this movie, there's actually not a lot of Tim Allen in this movie, which
correct.
As the former host of a Tim Allen oriented podcast, I frankly find a little bit disappointing, because I was also very excited for a big meaty dramatic performance from Tim Allen, and he's really in only like 3 or 4 scenes in this movie.
Yes, but I mean it's thematically appropriate here. His character is written to disappear. Like it's not Patricia Richardson in Undue Influence, where her character is the impetus for the whole plot and just appears in 5 minutes of a 2-part TV movie.
Yeah, that we had to watch all 5 hours of for like 30 seconds of Patricia Richardson. You won't show me this crisp 100-minute David Mamet movie with a little bit of Tim in it, but you'll make me watch Brian Dennehy wandering around for 5 hours.
Jamaica!
That post office exploding? Ugh, more lore. Go on.
Chet Frank, it turns out, is a bit of a con man to a degree, like in the Hollywood actor style of a con man. Maybe flaky is a little better of a term for it.
I definitely buy him being a flaky actor rather than an actor who is like running a 3-card Monty game. I don't know, it's just he doesn't really get a lot of space to kind of spread his wings in this. I mean, he's in the bar, he orders a drink for the woman, and then Jake Johnson gets involved and is mad about it, and then he mouths off to Jake Johnson a little bit, and there's the fight. But that's really it. He doesn't really get to go. He doesn't get to go full asshole, which is a thing we know he can do even without trying. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to see more of it here.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to explore that in a few other scenes, but let's connect it to Mike Terry and his philosophy. Like, Mike Terry is there at the bar as well as the fight breaks out. Like, suddenly it's he having to step in to stop additional violence from happening.
Yes, and even then because worth noting that the bouncer that was supposed to show up that night was supposed to be there on his recommendation. He didn't show up, and so there was no one in the bar to stop the fight, and so he felt by the code of his honor that it was his responsibility to step in and fill the gap that was there because of him. And the way that he fights with everyone in the bar, though, using these Brazilian jiu-jitsu principles, he never throws a punch. It's a lot of kind of sweeping people's legs out from under them or grabbing them from behind and pinning their arms and taking them to the ground. Like, later when the police are there looking at the surveillance footage, Mike points out, I didn't throw a punch, so I'm good to go. Like, you haven't got me for assault or anything. I can walk.
And it's entirely self-defense. Like, he uses someone's momentum of throwing punches against them. So when you say sweep legs, yes, he's doing that, but it's like they have thrown the first punch or the first kick or the first move, and he is, in self-defense maneuvering to take them down.
Yes, yeah. I think that if you were listening to me hoping to get really like accurate and detailed descriptions of the different Brazilian jiu-jitsu moves that are happening in this movie, I have terrible news. You will not get them. What do you think of the fighting? Like, how do you think it looks on a cinematic level?
Well, I'm of a couple different minds. It's fine, but this isn't the movie that is like. I don't think this is trying to be a fight movie.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think it needs to be like John Wick cool. The way it transpires is like you see the move, it's quick, it doesn't luxuriate in it, it's not romanticized, it's just is what it is, and we move on quickly from it. There's not like when the fight breaks out, someone doesn't bump into a jukebox and Pina Colada starts playing as a a fight scene incurs, but
boy, you saying that makes me suddenly appreciate how not stylized this movie is. I feel like every movie we watch now that was made in the past 10 years, someone shoots a jukebox or bumps into a thing to make an excuse for a diegetic pop song to play during the fight scene. And I respect David Mamet for just having this just be people grunting, carefully subtitled.
Yeah, so I appreciate the kind of different take on it. It doesn't all need to be that other thing. And so the question then becomes, is it successful at what it's trying to do? Yeah. And that is where I'm not sure how I feel.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, because David Mamet it's worth saying now, is a master jiu-jitsu warrior. I don't know what the exact term is for it.
The term is purple belt. He is a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but yes. It's just because we're watching a movie that introduces the concept of multicolored belts to denote Brazilian jiu-jitsu skill, so I didn't know if you were going to pull from that.
It's right there in the title, yeah. The fact that he is a purple belt, like, makes... I don't know. It's like I could tell he wants to show the art of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if this was done by someone who wasn't that, I mean, this movie wouldn't exist and we wouldn't be having this conversation, but like it would almost be a more artistic choice to go, we don't see the fight at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like the second the first punch is thrown, cut to the aftermath.
Yes. Which,
Like
I mean,
completely let us, back away from the romanticism of that.
Yeah, it's telling the story completely in the absence of fighting. It's like the thing I keep coming back to about The Big Lebowski, where we never see the dude actually bowling. He just talks about it so much and is always at the bowling alley. Watching this, it was really impressive. I was watching the movie and thinking, David Mamet does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, doesn't he? He's like really into it. I'm gonna lay down my marker, and then when I
felt
looked,
it. There were jiu-jitsu vapor lines coming off the movie as you were watching it.
This has the sweaty stank of Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy all over it. It's just, it is the most like kind of upper class intellectual worldly guy having a midlife crisis activity. No disrespect to any Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys out there. I have good friends who do it, but it's just, I'm inclined to feel this way because Anthony Bourdain also got really into Brazilian jiu-jitsu in his 40s, and what that means for fans of his travel show is like every third episode, no matter what goddamn country he's in, he has to go to the Brazilian jiu-jitsu studio there to take a lesson with the master, and there's like 20 minutes of voiceover of Anthony Bourdain explaining how good this Brazilian jiu-jitsu master in Greenland is, and like videos of him, footage of him in a gi writhing around on a mat, and I'm like, I just talk about like food, dude. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, David Mamet, I think, is a similar type of guy to Anthony Bourdain, and it completely makes sense that he would also be into this.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about David Mamet in a bit. Let's backtrack and talk about the opening of this film that sets the stakes and the plot points and stuff. Because in a way, I kind of like it. But
in a way,
let's just go through very briefly what happens. Mike Terry owns the studio. The movie opens with him teaching a class. Yeah. There is a particular student who is on his way to getting the black belt. What belt is he about to get? The black belt?
He's about to get the black belt,
which allows him to be able to teach classes on his own if he wants to. Like it's a position of status within the studio that he runs.
And the black belt is kind of awarded at Mike Terry's discretion when he feels like the person has. It's not strictly a reflection of your fighting skill, but your vibes being right for it, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, if your mental state is reflective of the code of jiu-jitsu and the kind of vibe. Yeah, you said.
Yeah, okay. It's vibe. It's the vibes. It's the vibe of the thing. So Mike is teaching this class. He's got this student, Joe, who's on the verge of getting his black belt. Joe is also a cop. He has just come from a shift of being a cop to be in this class. So there's a woman comes into the studio. She's a lawyer. Her name's Laura Black. She's kind of distressed. She's just gotten into a minor fender bender outside with with Mike's car, and she's trying to come in and like settle up about the damage. But so she walks in. She's very stressed out and anxious and upset, and Mike and Joe are both kind of like trying to put her at ease and joke around and say, yeah, come on, you're fine, take your coat off, you're Joe, get her coat. And Joe goes to take Laura's coat off, and Laura kind of freaks out, and Joe earlier has taken his loaded pistol, because he's a cop, he's left it like out like on a banister or a rail nearby unattended, and as he's trying to take her coat, she freaks out, lunges forward, kind of grabs the gun and fires it in his direction, and it shoots out the front window of the store, or of the, not the store, it's not the jiu-jitsu store, it's the studio.
Yeah. So there are a couple things here I want to just address with these opening scenes.
Yeah.
One is this is where we're starting to get the philosophy of Mike Terry's approach to jiu-jitsu through how he's teaching what's his name? Joe. How he's teaching Joe, the police officer.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, the move. Like he has chosen another student to get him in this headlock, this very specific hold, and Joe is struggling. He's like, his anger is taking over, and Mike is constantly saying, be in the moment, breathe, the move, the moves work, stick to what works, don't let your anger overtake you. And so like we see the philosophy being taught in action, and I kind of like that. It wasn't just a thing we learn ad hoc throughout the film.
Yeah, we come right into it. Like, the movie just starts with this fight and with Mike following Joe and his sparring partner around and kind of just very calmly, confidently, assuredly coaching Joe on how to do this and encouraging him, and kind of like, and it's not mechanical about do this or do that or use this move. It's all just about, what to do. You can feel it. And it kind of sets out his worldview and the purposeful way that he lives his life in the way that he is running this class and teaching this lesson.
Yes, be in the moment, and by being present, that will guide you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And what I also like about this interaction between Joe and Mike early on is like that John Wick version of this movie would set up like a villain in Joe of like the resentful, I can't control my anger, fuck you, anger is actually a superpower, and I'm going to use the jujitsu moves that I've learned combined with my superpower of anger, and I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
But no, what we see is like Joe is very frustrated, and he didn't trust himself. Like, he fails in this opening scene. When Mike dismisses the rest of the class, he asks Joe to stay back for a second as Joe's like putting his jacket on, and that's when he takes his gun off, because he's like, okay, we're gonna run through the move one more time. I know you got this, dude. Just trust in the moves.
Yeah.
And so that's when Joe's like, okay, he sets his gun down, and then they go to grapple.
Yeah.
And like, it's a little ham-fisted of a, it's a little contrived as to how to get the gun on the counter, but at the same time, I appreciate that it is rooted in something more than just, we need to get the gun down on the counter.
Look, every time something in this movie doesn't work, I still kind of look at it and go, but Pulitzer Prize winning screenwriter doesn't work. It's like I see the work you did to try and make it make sense, David Mamet, and damn it, Mamet, I love you. I can't be too mad about it. What doesn't work for me is what comes next, and the way that the shooting plays out and the consequences of the shooting. Are you ready to go there?
Yes, I have a lot to say about it.
Okay. She comes in and is upset, and first and foremost, the way that they're, Landon has.
Can we backtrack? Yeah, because I think the problem starts before she comes in.
Okay.
She is driving in the rain in a kind of hysteric state, and we don't exactly know why. And in this kind of fight or flight response of her behind the wheel, that is what causes her to swerve off the road and hit Chiwetel's car, Mike Terry's car. The problem that starts here that then extends into the scene that we'll talk about is just one of the only female characters in this movie being introduced in a hysteric state, and that being the impetus for basically what happens in this movie.
Yes. Everything that happens in this movie, all of the tragedy and suffering of this movie is put in motion because a woman can't drive well. Nice, David Mamet. Damn it, Mamet. I maybe don't love you as much as I did before. So yes, she is in a very agitated state, and she comes in, and the way that Mike and Joe are both interacting with her is just immediately sort of strange. She's clearly very upset. It's pouring down rain in the way that it used to in Los Angeles, and she comes in and is like, I'm sorry, I need to speak to someone. I ran into your car. And Mike just keeps, like, he's smiling and being very warm for her, but he keeps being like, come on in. Yes, I just see your car. Come on in. No, come in further. No, but your car just like, oh, no, come all the way in. Joe, take her coat. Hey, Joe, get her coat. Take the girl's coat. And, yeah, and then Joe comes up and kind of touches her from behind, reaching for the coat, which she does not, she jumps and reaches for the gun.
This is very much like the Mamet writing style in action, and to its detriment, where he always has conflicting things going on with characters. Like, one person has just a singular train of thought as someone else is trying to tell them something, and it's supposed to create this tension in dialogue and character. Here it just is too early and does not make sense. Like, a crying woman is bursting into your studio, drenching wet. You're not going to be open arms going, yes, come in, please. Would you like some hot tea? Let me just take off your shoes, please, and have a seat. Like, it's a little ham-fisted here.
If you draw the wrong kind of marble, you get ham fists for your jiu-jitsu fight. That's one of the handicaps. A handicap, if you will. I think that David Mamet's style, that kind of like crosstalk thing, and that works in scenes between two people who know each other really well, or that works in scenes where it's like two people having an argument or some sort of conflict or dispute. But yeah, in this case where they're reacting to a stranger coming in, this is the first conversation they've ever had with her, and she's very clearly in a state of great agitation. Like, any normal person is just going to be like, let me listen to you. What do you need? Something seems to have gone wrong. Okay, but, she's startled. She grabs the gun, kind of swings around behind her, fires in the direction of Joe, and shoots out the window.
What I don't love about that is, in the moment, she looks insane. And the more information and context we get about it does not help the case at all, because we find out that she is a rape survivor and that she was off her medication, and in that moment she felt threatened and therefore grabbed the first thing for self-defense, which I think Mamet is intentionally showing a dichotomy of, like, the martial art as self-defense and a destructive weapon as self-defense, and how it doesn't play very well, but the parallels are there if you want them.
I agree with you, but the aftermath of this and how it sets everything into motion really just does not make any kind of sense, because she shoots out the window, and then it's this whole thing of, like, you just took a cop's gun and tried to shoot at a cop. We can't tell anybody about this. This is going to be attempted murder. And, like, Joe the cop is like, it's fine. It didn't happen. We're just going to pretend it didn't happen. It's fine. And, there's some business about how the window's going to get repaired. But
there's a code of honor between them to say, you're right. Okay, code of honor, we won't tell anything.
Yeah, like, it's this big agreed upon thing. Everyone there's like, no, this didn't happen. The wind blew something in through the window. This never happened. And, it becomes this thing down the line where it's like they covered it up because, and Mike is explaining this, like, if he went back to the police station and reported this, they'd have to arrest her for attempted murder, and it would ruin her life, and she'd go to jail. No. That's not... No. There's not... There's no injured party. Everyone...
Right.
There's, like, a bunch of witnesses who saw this was a misunderstanding. She was frightened and startled. And like, she's also a, cute white girl lawyer. Like, it's not like the district attorney is going to hear that this happened and push to, like, put this white lady with no criminal record behind bars for attempted murder of a cop, because it's not that. Anyone could tell you this is just a misunderstanding. We don't know her criminal record.
We don't know her criminal record. She could be a, like, serial, shoplifter.
Well, then maybe, you know what? Then maybe it'd be better if she goes behind bars, because, I mean, think of all the horrible, all of the horrible suffering that's unleashed by shoplifting every year. This lawyer who shoplifts is the reason that you have to get them to unlock the case at CVS now, frankly.
So, okay, here's a thought, though, that, like, this window and the cost of the window becomes a problem. Yeah. And it's a domino in many dominoes that make up this film.
Yeah.
And we'll talk
Domino.
about those dominoes in a second.
Yeah.
However, in a vacuum, I really, really respond to and appreciate films that grow in scope from a very small action.
Yeah.
So the fact that a shot out window can lead to a character inadvertently winning a televised jiu-jitsu championship is fantastical and weird.
Yes.
And could be fun. I don't know how much it works here, but I like that sort of approach to entering a story. Is like, how do we get into a big story through the smallest possible thing?
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I like that this is done in service of setting up a thing, and that this keeps coming back in a way that is very kind of integral to the story, and is not the thing that I feel like we see in so many movies where it's like, oh, the screenwriter got a note that this thing needs to be in the movie, or thought of this plot point, and so it's like there's one scene with it at the beginning and then one scene with it in the middle of the movie,
right,
and that's
right.
the thing.
Yeah.
It's just, at the same time, I'm like, Pulitzer Prize winner David Mamet, you know, you live in the world, you know how, like, the criminal justice system works. Like, at least don't have it be a rich white lady who it's like, oh, they would the criminal justice system would ruin her life. Like, at least, like, there are things about the circumstances of this event that could have been altered to kind of give us more of a reason to be like, oh yeah, we need to cover for this woman because shit will go south for her, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's another part of the, like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, the milady philosophy here.
Landon, like, tipping an invisible fedora.
Where, because it's a woman, like what would happen if it was a man that came in and shot the window out? Like, the fact that he is sticking up because it's a woman, there's this chivalrous aspect to this that paints the rest of the story. Because what happens is kind of convoluted, and I don't follow it 100%, and I don't know that it 100% makes sense.
Yeah.
But because the cop says this never happened, she's not charged, what it does is it puts the financial responsibility onto Mike Terry's shoulders to fix the window when he's already in financial issue. And because he now is facing all of these money problems, he is forced to engage in activities that he wouldn't otherwise engage in, that go against his code of honor, and thus we are starting to, like, go down this path that challenges how close do you stick to your code of honor when the chips are down.
Yeah. His continual refusal to compromise on his code of honor as he kind of gets into a more dishonorable world repeatedly just means that he gets deeper and deeper into this world and keeps getting more and more fucked over by it.
And it's weird, by sticking more and more to his code of honor, that is somehow the draw into the darker world.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he had just if this opening scene started with, like, oh yeah, of course we won't file a police report, but, like, just pay me whatever you can for the window when you can, like, we wouldn't have a movie.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. This movie is just a real scathing indictment of having a code of honor. The clear message of Redbelt is don't believe in anything. I will just say, if anyone should be punished for what goes on in this scene with shooting out the window, it's Officer Joe the cop. Don't leave your loaded and unsafetied gun sitting out in a public place.
Yes.
Now, David Mamet did a solid job of trying to explain why that would happen, that he was he's taken his gun out of his bag, he's removed the trigger guard because he's going to go out and be on the job or something.
And he doesn't want to be having the gun in his holster while doing the moves with Mike Terry, you know, like... Yeah. Bare minimum grunt work here he's doing.
Sure, so to speak. But he then But just that he then is like, I'm going to set my loaded, unsafetied gun down and in a public place and turn my back on it. It's like if I could see this scene playing out the same way and just having the thing be, oh, Joe is the one who's going to be in trouble about this, because for one thing, police turn in their service weapons at the end of the day, and the police department keeps track of if any bullets have been fired from them, and if you're missing a bullet out of your gun, they start asking you questions. So, like, that could be a way into the story of, like, oh, we have to cover this on Joe's behalf, not on Laura the lawyer's behalf. But then
it's not chivalrous.
I guess yes, because it's covering for a man instead of a woman. You're right. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah, you can't.
And that's that leans a little bit into that incel-y vibe for me.
I mean, and the more I read on David Mamet's Wikipedia page, the more I realized he and the incel community share a lot of views about certain things going on. So yes. What else? Do we have more to say about the window and the gun? The curious incident of the gun in the nighttime?
No, I think that sets everything up, and we can kind of skip our way along to whatever scenes we want to talk about now. In fact, I have a good place to take us next.
Let's go.
We're going back to the bar.
Oh, of course.
And we're going through Mike Terry's perspective. Mm-hmm. It's before It's before the scene with Tim Allen. Mm. It's before he goes to see his brother-in-law, played by Rodrigo Santoro, where I couldn't tell. Okay, sorry, I have a lot of thoughts going on at once here.
This is exciting.
I'm just going to say the words. The Magician.
Oh, my God. Oh my God. We have had so many good experiences with watching one man do close-up magic for another man on this show. It's always great.
So, when this was introduced in the bar, I'm just like, I couldn't tell if Mamet was like just showing the texture of LA nightlife in 2008, because if the Magician was just left to that one scene, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. I still would have rolled my eyes. But the fact that the Magician comes back to play in a pivotal moment at the end of this film, like the sonic boom of the head smack I did was just destructive too. Like it probably countered like the sonic boom of Rodin's wings.
Mike Terry is at the bar, and this dude who he knows, Mike Terry also seemingly knows everyone in the world. Every place he walks into, everyone is like, oh, hey, Mike, how's it going, Mike? But there's this kind of young, douchey-looking guy at the bar who is a magician and demonstrating, he's got, a cigarette that he, does a sleight of hand thing, and the cigarette disappears, and then he's got, oh, let me show you my new dice, and he's got this black dice, and he, waves his hand over it, and then it turns into a white dice, and ooh, magic.
God, it was, like, pickup artist community shit.
Yes. The move that Al Pacino does in The Recruit, where he rips up the newspaper and then turns it back into a full newspaper, I can't really see a pickup artist doing that for a girl at a bar in 2007 because, that's a lot of prop to carry in and get past the bouncer, like a full trick newspaper. A single dice, though, that you can fit in your pocket.
Yeah.
Look, I initially, when this scene started and we walked up to Mike Terry and was like, let me show you my new dice, and he pulls out a weird-looking dice, I'm like, is this a D20? Did David Mamet write a D&D guy into his movie? Redbelt, the best movie of all time. No, sadly, no.
So this, I guess we need more context before we get to him at the end. But I want to introduce him here because it just felt like such a, I don't know. There's not, for a movie about jiu-jitsu and the kind of love letter to that fighting language. Yeah. This movie does not have a lot of grace.
Yeah, interesting. Expand on that.
Or the script itself doesn't have a lot of grace.
Interesting. Because you think it's so telegraphed that, oh, hey guys, take careful note of this magician, he might be important later.
Well, no, not necessarily that even so much as as we talked about with the opening scene and like getting the gun unguarded on the counter, to introducing this like weird magician here, which also you have Ricky Jay in your movie. Why is he not playing the magician, you idiot?
Oh my God. And you're friends with him, David Mamet. You work with him a lot. Why?
David, damn it. Just the introduction of everything just feels so unnatural. It feels very written.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it's David Mamet movies always feel pretty written. I mean, these are everything he like. This is a playwright who then moved up to making movies,
Okay.
and all of his movies feel very much like an intense play. And it's a play is a different vibe than a movie. It's not going to be as naturalistic.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because you have movies like Glengarry Glen Ross,
Sure.
which is probably the end all be all example. Why talk about others of a film adapted from one of his stage plays?
Yeah.
And that movie is a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like James Foley, who directed it, not really known for many of his other films.
Yeah.
But it's hard to fuck up that story or that adaptation because it's been on stage for so long. It has had so many talented people in all of its roles, rotating in and out and being refined and having the ideas really solidified. When you look at Mamet's non-adaptations of his own plays, like Heist, State and Maine, this film, they want to be on that Glengarry Glen Ross level.
Yeah.
But they are just kind of messy. And I think it's because they aren't refined through so much time and space and talent.
Yeah, it didn't have the benefit of basically being in rehearsals for the movie for like 10 years.
Exactly.
I agree. Like, when he's meeting the magician at the bar, I'm thinking like, okay, well, this is David Mamet telling me that I need to remember this guy and he will probably matter in some way later. I guess it's like, yes, it does feel very written. And I agree, this movie is kind of sloppy in some ways. It is not a perfect Swiss watch. But at the same time, I almost just, as someone who once fancied himself a screenwriter and has read a lot of books about it, I really appreciate the kind of intentionality of these things, or just seeing like, it's not just, this is a screenwriter who read a screenwriting book, and so on page 2, the main character saves a literal cat so that we know that he's a cool dude. It's like, oh no, this is the guy who like wrote a screenwriting book, applying lessons that he's learned from being a good writer. And even though the writing he's doing here is definitely not his best, it's like, I at least can see him, like, he's got the muscle memory of it at work here. Like, he's making more of an effort at this stuff than a worse writer would, and I appreciate that, even though, yes, it doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah, I can appreciate that too, and those are good points.
Thank you.
I listened to the audio commentary for this. I will admit, I've gone on and on and on about being anti-auteur theory.
Uh-oh.
And David Mamet, for all the credit we can give him, admits in there, like, well, he doesn't admit anything necessarily, but he's very quick to credit all of the other departments and the talent that they bring to making a film happen.
Oh.
And I really appreciated that it wasn't just I kind of expected to go into that audio commentary with the idea of like, my words are gospel, don't change a thing. But he was very much like, this is a collaborative effort, and all of the talents of the cast brought these ideas to life. The set designers really gave a lived-in quality to the bar, to the dojo, to the arena, those sorts of things, because there is a certain reverence for Mamet in theater.
Yeah.
I have a minor in theater, went through college in theater. I studied Mamet. I had a small part. We did a scene study from Glengarry Glen Ross, so I spent a lot of time with Mamet. And
which were who, like, you weren't the character played by Alec Baldwin, right? Which
That's not
guys?
See, okay, that was invented for the movie. That's not in the stage play.
Wow. How good did it feel as a theater minor to be able to tell that to a civilian? You're just going to go to bed glowing tonight?
The character I played, unfortunately, was played by Kevin Spacey in the movie.
Oh, that's a sad one. I'm sorry about that.
But it's an interesting role. And what I think is applicable in terms of talking about David Mamet's approach to the stories he tells and the characters he tells is that applies here to Redbelt is he's very interested in individuals, even individuals within a group like Glengarry Glen Ross with the 4 salesmen, within the confines, restrictions, parameters, whatever you want to call it, of an institution.
Yeah.
Or some sort of like, in Glengarry Glen Ross, it's the insurance salesman or the real estate business. Here it's the realm of jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, fighting. The institution of it being televised and the marketing of that.
Yeah.
State and Maine. It's about Hollywood and the studio system. So that is a theme that he explores often. And so looking at Redbelt in comparison to something like Glengarry Glen Ross, the different themes start to emerge, I find.
And I think that the way that he represents the institution of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I mean, look, I think I've made clear I am the worst possible candidate for giving a shit about a movie set in the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's a credit to David Mamet as a writer that I was really engaged with this movie. I was really invested in it. I really, I don't know that I would say that I loved the movie overall, but there were a lot of scenes and moments, this movie had me the entire time, which is not a thing I can say about a lot of movies that center around sports, and particularly this sport.
Yeah.
And I think he does that because it is this grounding in... He never loses sight of the fact that this is a movie about characters and about people dealing with their own circumstances and how kind of the medium with which they are dealing with this stuff is jiu-jitsu. This is the thing that the boys in the boat could not do or did not do, which was just, this is just a movie about this specific sport, and they are trying to win at this sport. And Redbelt has the common sense to be about Mike Terry and the people around him and how they're trying to handle stuff in their lives, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just the world that they are living in.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's common to most of his things. And when you compare it to... Okay, so I'm just going to spitball this, but as you were talking, I kind of realized that Redbelt is kind of the anti-Glengarry Glen Ross, where that movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, is about a system fucking over a group of salesmen, exploiting them. I mean, exploitation is a big theme in his movies and stories, but because they don't have any philosophy, life philosophy to get them through, no code of honor, none of those salesmen do. They're just out for themselves. They end up mostly getting fucked by the system. Whereas this is very much like the system, again, is trying to fuck him over, but because of his code of honor, he has something to fight back with. Yeah. And that is what makes him succeed at the end of the day. At the end of Glengarry Glen Ross, no one really comes out looking nice. At the end of this, it's fanciful. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the world of reality, but
this is true.
He does come out on top and without having sacrificed what he believes in.
Yeah, it's a triumph of the individual at the very end.
Oh boy. All right, so then talking about the different things that are trying to exploit him throughout this, let's start talking a little bit, because just like State and Maine, the Hollywood system comes in to try to glean his expertise for profit, right?
Yes, Glean Gary Glean Ross. Stupid, so stupid. Yes. Hollywood.
Glean Terry, because it's Mike Terry.
Okay, this is great. They should have called the movie that. But yes, he after saving Tim Allen in the bar fight, Tim Allen's people, by which I mean Chet Frank's people, send him a fancy gold watch and an invitation for him and his wife to come to dinner at Chet Frank's house as a thank you. Mike gives the gold watch to Joe the cop as kind of a like, hey, thank you for covering for the lawyer and bringing honor to the dojo. Yeah. And then
how much of that is him not wanting to accept fancy gifts? I mean, as part of his honor.
I feel like yes, that's probably a key thing, is that's part of it, because he conceivably, I mean, we find out later this would have been a bad idea. He could have just taken the very fancy Rolex or whatever, sold it, had money to fix his window, had money to pay off his debts. It all would have been fine. Yeah. But he passes it to Joe instead. And they then go and they get dinner at Casa de Frank with Chet and his wife, and also Chet's weird like agent or manager who's really skeevy is just hanging around there too.
Joe Mantegna.
Yeah, who we've seen before, right?
Oh my God, yeah. Well, he also is a David Mamet regular, but how to describe it? I mean, he's a dramatic actor in his own right, and lots of stage stuff, but I feel like there was a time in the 90s when, like, if you wanted a serious Goomba, you went with Chaz Palminteri. If you wanted a goofy Goomba, you went with Joe Mantegna.
a goofy Goomba. Well, I am seeing that he was one of the bad guys in Baby's Day Out, so that tracks.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And he also apparently helped Vern Troyer get into the film industry, so he's done a lot of great services for mankind. Thanks, Wikipedia. Wow. Yeah, so they're there at the house. They have dinner, and then Mike's wife is talking with Chet's wife, and then Chet and Mike are walking around the premises, the grounds of the house, and are just talking about jiu-jitsu, and Mike kind of explains his code and why he chooses not to fight in tournaments and everything to Chet Franks.
Yeah, and this is where I would credit David Mamet, where, like, I can't really tell you what was talked about outside of what you just explained. Yeah. Like, no dialogue really jumps to mind, but it's compelling to watch. Like, I wasn't bored by the interaction between the two of them. But I struggle to, like, comment on it, because this is one of the outside of the, the action scene with Tim Allen earlier, this is where, like, followers of Tim Allen's career get to see him be a dramatic performance, or at least not be funny.
Well, we've seen him not be funny quite a lot.
Intentionally so. So it's hard to, like, even ask, how do you feel about his performance here, at what he's doing and what's being said, because I don't know what's being said.
I was watching the scene and was thinking, like, this is all I'd ever wanted. I mean, like, all throughout Grunt Work, I was saying Tim Allen should have hit big as a dramatic actor. He's a great dramatic actor. But so watching him in this dramatic scene, it was like, just, I felt nothing. I mean, I sound like the most cutting theater critic right now, and I'm not trying to. I certainly don't think that Tim Allen is doing the thing we've seen him do a lot, where he overplays everything and has to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
He's being a good scene partner, and he's underplaying stuff. I think maybe what it just comes down to is there is so much more depth and kind of pathos to Jason Nesmith in Galaxy Quest than there is to the character that Tim Allen plays in this. And I get it.
Yeah.
Like, Jason Nesmith is the main character in Galaxy Quest. Chet Frank is a supporting character in a movie with a lot of other irons in the fire.
Yeah.
But he really just exists to kind of draw Mike out about martial arts a little bit.
I mean, he represents exploitation in a way. Because let's talk through some of his other scenes. After this dinner party, he invites him, like, why don't you join me on the set one day? We could really use someone like you on this war movie I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm a little confused as to why Mike agrees. Like, if he doesn't want to use his abilities to profit, like, isn't, like, getting exclusive access to these things kind of profiting to some degree?
Yeah, and also, I don't know what, like, per his whole code of ethics and honor, I don't know what's really enticing to him about the movie business or about Chet Frank, a man who, they're walking around his house and Chet is like slamming a lot of liquor. He represents both exploitation but also the kind of undisciplined lifestyle that Mike Terry eschews.
That's an interesting juxtaposition, but what does it mean? You're right, there's no hook into like what is the pull for Mike? If there's not a push of like you have to go see this guy, then what is the draw? Neither of those two things are here.
Yes. And it's not as though there is something about Chet Frank that is so captivating and charismatic that even though his better angels of his nature or his like better judgment is telling him don't get involved with this guy, it's like, oh, but I'm drawn to him and what he's offering me. There's not enough character there for Tim Allen to play that you don't really get that. There's not a thing of like, oh, he is seeing Mike or making Mike feel seen and Mike feel appreciated in a way that he cannot get anywhere else, and that's why he gets deeper into this.
Yeah. Okay, and that's kind of where I was going with Tim Allen's character, which is like, we're not privy to the thing that makes Tim Allen's character interesting. We don't see that on screen ever.
Yes.
What makes his character interesting is that he invites Mike to the set. He wants to glean this information, make it more real. Like, what we need in this movie is, that experience you have, that, I saw you in the bar, I know you can handle yourself. The fight scenes in this silly movie we're making make it look like a joke. Mm-hmm. Can you come and help make this serious? So he wants something out of Mike.
Yeah.
And when after he gets it, there are all these like promises and very much like a Hollywood star would make, we're going to be best friends forever. We're going to work on 5 movies together. You're going to be my guy. Mm-hmm. And then like it becomes radio silent after the debacle with the watch, and leaves Mike out in the cold, regarding like, was it stolen? Was it not stolen? Tim Allen's character has to distance himself, but we don't get the perspective of that at all. We don't get to see the flakiness. We really just we see them bond to a degree in these conversations, and then we completely miss the part where Chet is using him. We the duplicity of that character. We're only given the aftermath of that.
Yes, we're only seeing Mike and his wife trying to piece together the ways in which these people have used them without really seeing any of the using or even really having it made especially clear what Chet Frank and his wife got out of this in the first place. His wife Zena is talking to Sandra, Mike's wife, and she's explaining, I'm a dressmaker, I get the fabric from Brazil. Chet's wife also is involved in fashion, and so they make this deal, and Sandra invests all this money in getting a bunch of fabric, and then after the whole thing where they discover the watch was stolen, suddenly, the Franks cut off all contact, and Sandra is left holding the bag on all this money. But it's just, I don't need everything laid out and explained to me, but I am sort of interested in, like, what is the Franks' game in all of this? Like, what are they... What are they trying to do?
I think it's superficial, and like it's such a complex thing that you need some additional explanation, because, and maybe this is just having spent 15 years in Los Angeles working with people in the industry in the kind of like consultant capacity that Mike is doing, that I kind of can see what's going on here. But here's how I read it. Mike is called on by Chet to give consulting on this movie.
Yeah.
And Chet wants to express his gratitude, gives him this watch, whether he knows it was stolen or not. However, when it's discovered that this watch is hot, Tim Allen doesn't want that to come back to him, so he tells his wife, we need to cut all ties with these people. Do never contact them again. I have a reputation to protect, and like that's it. We got what we needed, or all we're gonna get out of them, and just forget Mike Terry ever existed. Mm-hmm. We don't ever see that side of the perspective, but I think that's all it really is. There's no like, they don't benefit from putting Mike in a precarious financial situation. They're not extracting money from him. They're not like scapegoating him or putting him in a place where he's going to take the fall for something.
Yeah. Well, they do seem to extract the concept of the black and white marbles from him, which I think we've alluded to,
true,
but
yes.
never described in detail. So maybe we talk about that and then how the Franks get that from him.
Because it comes into play so much in the final portion of this movie. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So the first thing we see in this movie is 3 marbles being placed into a cup and kind of swirled around, and then fighters pull them out and display which one they got. And this is a training technique that Mike uses that is drawn from ancient Japan, wherein there are 2 black marbles, 1 white marble. The person who gets the white marble gets a pass, and and the one who gets a black marble has to like spin a wheel on a little chart and have like a handicap applied to them, because the thinking
their
being
arm tied behind their back, they can't use their leg, something like that.
Yeah, or like I think a blindfold is one of them even.
Yep.
And the whole concept is just you never know if you're going to have some kind of handicap when you need to use these skills. It strengthens you. So
right. Which I want to just earmark by saying, I listened to the audio commentary. What you just described of it being an ancient Japanese thing might just be an invention for this movie. I was not able to glean from Mamet whether or not that's a real thing or something he invented.
I love that David Mamet gets into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then starts inventing new ways to make it harder. Just the mind of a dramatist. Like how can I inject more drama into every fight? But so when he is hanging out with Tim Allen at the house, Mike explains about this. He's prompted to by his wife. And then later on down the line, after the Franks have cut off all contact with them and kind of fucked them over on the money for the dressmaking operation, Mike is watching TV at some point and he sees an ad for an upcoming MMA fight where the gimmick for the undercard fight is that each fighter will, pull marbles from a container to determine if they'll have a handicap. And he realizes, oh shit, they stole my thing. Somehow they found out my thing through Tim Allen's people. And so then using Laura, the lawyer who shot out the window, he enlists her to try and sue them for intellectual property theft, making him a real IP man. Like Ip Man, which is a movie about martial arts. This is funny, and I've been thinking about it for 3 days, and I just had to put it out there.
I don't have a response to
that. You don't need to. I just needed to say it. My code of ethics is that I must give myself a present every day, and today my present was doing an intellectual property law martial arts joke on the show.
Although I don't know why in Living Color just came to mind, like intellectual property man feels like the most boring superhero sketch ever.
That is another cinematic universe that I would pay attention to. I mean, you could say that the intellectual property superheroes are all of the lawyers at Marvel and Disney that made all those movies happen.
So, okay, this is where the movie gets a little confusing to me. Mm-hmm. There's the introduction of David Paymer. We love to see David Paymer. Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I've seen him in anything. Where he's a promoter of the mixed martial arts. He's an agent. Okay. All right. Let me start asking some questions. This usually gets us somewhere.
Yeah.
Joe Mantegna.
Yeah.
Is related to Tim Allen. How?
He seems to be his agent or manager or something like that. He is involved in running Chet Frank's business. He is the one who tells Mike, hey, Chet wants you to come to set tomorrow. On set, he's like, hey, Chet is late today. He seems to just be running his business affairs in a sleazy fashion.
Also, just to earmark, like, when it comes to pass that Chet is cutting all ties with Mike Terry, Mike is at dinner with Jerry, Joe Mantegna.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, Chet will be here in a minute. And, like, he's very, very late. And at a certain point, the maitre d' comes over and says, you have a phone call. And Jerry gets up and walks away and never comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scene, I don't know if you noticed, a person comes over to like whisper something in Jerry's ear, played by fucking Ed O'Neill.
Yes. Yeah, Ed O'Neill, who's credited as just like film producer. It's just like it's a Hollywood restaurant, and this guy comes by and is like, let's make a deal and do that thing. And yeah, that's Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill, also very well known as a martial arts master.
Well, is it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically?
I don't know.
Listen, I'm just saying, I'm gonna put down my white marble and say okay. I think that it is. Ed O'Neill also seems like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Not derogatory, just socioeconomically it lines up. That scene is brutal because they get together, Mike meets up with Joe Mantegna, the agent, and tells him, hey, that watch you gave me was hot. I gifted it to a friend. He'd given it to Joe the cop. Joe the cop tried to pawn it, and then the pawn shop found out that the watch was stolen, and then that got Joe the cop in trouble at work. So
and led to his suicide, which we haven't talked about, but
yeah, a lot of fun stuff in this movie. But so he tells Jerry this, and Jerry's like, I'll make a call from the front desk. I'll do that, and he goes off. But Joe Mantegna has just before this ordered a glass of wine, which has come to the table, and then and so then Mike is sitting there forever, and then the restaurant is closing down, and clearly Joe Mantegna has just left, straight up ghosted him. So Mike has to stand up, and he has to pay for the glass of wine that this guy ordered. Brutal.
Yeah, which he doesn't drink. Also, just earmarked for me, if you're okay, put yourself in Mike's shoes.
I will.
Or put yourself in Mike's seat.
Or his
How long do you wait? Do you close down the restaurant?
That
waiting for the guy to come back and sit with you?
That is really that is a level of kind of focus and martial arts level centeredness that you can sit. He doesn't have his phone out. This is before smartphones were all over the place, and just sitting and waiting seemingly for 3 hours. I would wait 10 minutes maybe. Without my phone, I would wait 3 minutes, and then I would go check at the front. And I'm sorry, my brain is mush. I would not wait that long. How long do you wait at the restaurant?
Yeah, I think I would give it a total of. It would probably be about 10 minutes before I got up and asked. And, if I got the indication that he left, or because someone at the front desk has to say, I haven't seen him, or he's not around, or if I check the men's room, at a certain point, I'm going to glean that he left. And I'm not going to stick around for hours, presumably.
Because all the other tables are empty at this point. It goes from the restaurant being crowded when the guy walks away to we kind of cross-dissolve to Mike sitting there, kind of just playing with the glass of wine but not drinking it.
All but one of the waiters turning a chair upside down and putting it on the table behind him.
The waiters are kind of gathered and looking at him, and so he finally gets up, he drops some cash and walks out, and immediately a waiter comes over to the table to clear it up. So he is waited. It's like it's like some kind of tragic abandoned child. My dad said he was going to get cigarettes. He'll be back any minute. Respect yourself, Mike.
Oh God. Okay, back to the questions I have for you. So
yes.
Okay, that's Joe Mantegna. What does Ricky Jay do?
Ricky Jay is a fight promoter. He is talking with Mike's wife's brother, who owns the nightclub and is also involved, just about how they're trying to promote this big fight. The title card bout is between a famous fighter named Bruno Silva and another fighter, a fighter from Japan. And then he's his big issue is that he's trying to drum up interest in the undercard fight, which is kind of a bracket style tournament between a bunch of lower level jiu-jitsu fighters. So Ricky Jay is having all these speeches about how we need to find a gimmick that will make people want to come to this thing so we can sell more tickets.
Okay. Some additional questions are coming to mind here.
Oh boy.
So then who is David Paymer?
David Paymer is a loan shark, Richie, and when Sandra, Mike's wife, goes into business with Tim Allen's wife, she takes out a $30,000 loan from Richie the loan shark so she can buy materials with the expectation that then this business venture will profit her. But then once they cut off contact, then she's left holding the bag on this money with this insane interest rate.
Okay, then here's the part of the confusion for me, is I don't see any connection between Tim Allen and his people and the televised fighting people. Wouldn't it be more likely that Ricky Jay stole the marble idea from Mike's brother-in-law?
Well, this is something. When they take them to, they have some kind of like hearing between the two lawyers, and Mike is there.
Oh my God!
About
I forgot
about the
Mike
intellectual
Malloy.
the intellectual property thing. Ricky Jay is
Emily Mortimer comes back into the story. She's going to represent him, right?
Yeah. And so they're having this whole thing about you stole this idea. You're trying to promote this fight off of a thing that belongs to Mike, and then like someone walks into the room who Mike spots, and even though I don't recognize him, Mike immediately identifies him as one of the producers on Tim Allen's movie, who now seems to also know Ricky Jay. So it's not made very clear, and it's sort of confusing watching the movie, let alone listening to two dumbasses try to explain the movie. But it seems as though knowledge of the marble trick passes from Mike to Tim Allen's agent, to the producer on Tim Allen's movie, to Ricky Jay, the fight promoter.
Okay, so the fact that this is so convoluted, when you start to like iron it out and look at it from a different angle, is it, going back to our original question like an hour ago, is the like thing that Tim Allen wants out of Mike the marble thing? Like he maybe not was going in looking for that, but once he got that, he's like, okay, we're gonna distance ourselves over this watch thing. I got all I needed with this marble thing. But how does Tim Allen profit from that? I don't understand this fucking movie all of a sudden.
I don't know. Tim Allen and his wife are at the fight at the end of the movie. They don't say anything.
Yeah.
We just see them in the stands sitting there with Mike's wife. But I'm not sure how he plays into this. This is part of what's so frustrating about this dramatic Tim Allen performance, is that A, there's not that much of him in it, and B, we don't really get a window into why his character even necessarily has to be in the movie. Like, all the people around him and in his orbit are the ones who are directly involved in exploiting Mike. This is the inverse of what we complained about in every goddamn episode of Home Improvement. It would be this episode where it's like, okay, there's interesting stuff going on here, but the whole episode doesn't need to be about Tim, but they keep finding ways to put Tim in it and make it about Tim. This movie suffers because there's not enough Tim. They don't make it enough about Tim. Never before has my petard been so thoroughly hoisted.
You know what? The two scenes of Tim that we didn't talk about that I think I can start to see the sliding doors moment for his dramatic career is immediately following the bar fight, where he's in the kind of surveillance back room of the bar, and the cops are there, and he's icing his head, and Mike is looking at him. Mike is also tending, a knife wound he got during the fight, and it's one of the first and maybe only times in Tim Allen's career that I was able to see him set aside his ego as a performer and dedicate himself to the scene, to the moment, and like not be the alpha male. Like, he's sitting there licking his wounds a little bit,
kind of shocked,
a little shocked, but also an admiration of Mike. There's a number of emotions being played at once, and as you said earlier, he underplays them. Yeah, and it's. There's not enough to chew on in this scene, but it could have built to a much more interesting scene down the line where he has to like wrestle with these things. Granted, it's not Tim Allen's movie. It's it's a Mike Terry joint.
Sure. I just went into this, and the red belt that was built up in my head through years of tantric podcasting about it or referencing it was
gross.
I'm so sorry I said that. But it was a movie that is like, it's basically a two-hander between Chiwetel Ejiofor and Tim Allen. And it's like, Tim Allen's character, I knew he was playing an aging, kind of past his prime actor, and it's like, oh, and he hires Mike Terry to like train him, and it's the relationship between them and helping this boozy old guy get straightened out and become better at things. And
that's Truman.
Landon.
That's Joe somebody.
Fuck. No! My petard! I mean, how much better would Joe somebody have been if instead of Vince Vaughn in that shit, or not Vince Vaughn, I'm sorry, what am I saying? I'm saying that instead of Jim Belushi in that shit, if it was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu master, if it's Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yet another twist of the petard. The person teaching self-defense is the retired actor.
Oh man, wow! This really so wait, we're saying so Joe somebody is Redbelt's Wario is what we found.
Yes, exactly.
And it's still not that good.
The other Tim Allen scene that we haven't really talked about is on set when he, Mike shows up and Tim is going through the sides for the day.
Yeah.
And like trying to make sense of the slang that is being used. Again, it's a war film. He's in, fatigues and stuff like that.
It's a Desert Storm movie specifically. They're like it's set during Desert Storm, so that's the kind of war movie it is.
And so he's reading these sides, throwing out terms like AOC. He's like, what does this even mean? And Mike's like, ass on curb. Kind of, in a very subtle way, giving a backstory to Mike. Like, was he in Desert Storm? Was he in, some sort of military army, regiment at some point? Is that where he started to learn self-defense?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it seems to be kind of alluded to, much in the same way that, he's offered a drink, I think, when he's at the restaurant with Joe Mantegna, and he says, tries to order him something. It's like, no, I don't drink. I used to. That's all it is, but it's sort of implied, like, he used to be in the military, he used to drink, things have changed, and it's sort of, in the negative space of it, you're kind of left to assume that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of filled the void maybe left by some of these things.
But seeing Tim Allen in these fatigues put me in mind of, like, again, the sliding doors moment that I kind of feel like maybe this was sliding doors, but they weren't sliding on their own accord. I kind of feel like Tim Allen was slamming it shut. Like, I tried that, not doing that again.
Yep.
But seeing him in the fatigues, I'm like, oh man, like having a one-day walk-on role to like a Saving Private Ryan or a Thin Red Line sort of like intense Black Hawk Down movie, like would have been an interesting additional step in this direction, because those were so popular at the time of this movie too.
Yeah, no, watching this is just having me thinking, like, how did Tim Allen not wind up in something like this? How was he not in 10 Minutes of Band of Brothers, or like a cutaway?
Right.
Like there were so many actors making cameos in Thin Red Line.
Ted Danson is in Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, exactly.
I would believe Tim Allen in that role more.
Kelsey Grammer was in McHale's Navy. I mean, all of the hits from Cheers were in war movies.
Truman. Okay. Holy shit. Okay, seeing Tim Allen in these fatigues, how close are we? Since, need I remind you, Kelsey Grammer is already in the universe. How close are we to Tim Allen entering the Expendables?
Oh my god. It's really surprising that he hasn't at this point, especially they've already got, like, it's not like he's too radioactive to touch. They got Mel Gibson in there. Right. Yeah. Why haven't, like, the only reason he's not in an Expendables movie is because he doesn't want to be. Clearly it's something about Tim Allen. The people making
they just haven't asked him.
The people making those movies definitely are Tim Allen fans. So I don't know. I mean, has he?
Can I drive a hot rod in it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, probably they'd write the entire movie around that. They ground Expendables 2 to a dead halt so Chuck Norris could make a Chuck Norris joke in it. They're absolutely gonna let Tim Allen's Commando be working on a Chevy.
Oh man. All right, let's bring this. Let's start to bring this home. How do we get to Mike agreeing to do the championship?
So his wife is completely financially fucked over by the Franks cutting off contact, leaving her holding the ball. He has tried to sue over the intellectual property theft, but then the lawyers for the fighting competition come back with, oh, we have all this evidence here that that your lawyer here, Laura, tried to shoot a cop in your studio, and you covered it up, and the cop covered it up, and the cop also tried to fence this stolen watch that you gave him, and we're gonna, bring the hammer down on all of you if you don't drop the case. And so this then leads Joe the cop to kill himself to try and like not bring any dishonor to the dojo. And this also leads to, you want to talk about a written scene. Mike goes to Joe the cop's house after getting word that he has killed himself, and the police just let him walk into the active crime scene
in the midst of the crime scene investigation.
It's fine. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Police work. It's very loosey-goosey. But but Joe the cop's wife is there grieving, and she has
Is she grieving?
Well, she's grieving the pension.
She's grieving.
Ah, very good, very good. Yes,
she is very mad.
That is David Mamet quality wordplay. But
thank you.
It's like David Mamet gave a little present to this actress, who presumably is someone who he's worked with before. This whole monologue where she's yelling at Mike and going you know how much the pension is for the wife of a cop who kills himself at zero, and she's picking up a stack of bills and is slapping his chest with it, going who's gonna pay these bills? Who's gonna pay these bills? It's just the most off-Broadway play, you can see the actors spit flying around scene. It's anyway, but it's just oh, so now he also feels he has to cover this woman's bills per the Bushido code.
Okay, let me pause there just to say, this whole code of honor thing seems like it's causing more problems in your life than okay, the question is, can't you still have honor and look out for yourself a little bit? What part of being so pure of heart says that you have to be naive and self-sacrificing to the point of self-destruction?
Men would rather follow a 16th century samurai Bushido code than go to therapy. It really just seems Mike, maybe you could talk to someone, because it seems the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is fine and it's been working for you, but I feel you're putting a little too much of your life on this shit.
Yes.
But so anyway, to handle all these mounting debts and legal jeopardy, Ricky Jay, the fight promoter, is on the other side of this lawsuit and basically says, hey, we'll drop this whole thing if you fight, and if you win the undercard match, you'll get $50,000, and that can cover some of this. So this leads Mike to join the undercard bout for this big fighting
begrudgingly
championship that's coming up, even though it's against his code to do so. And the last 30 minutes of the movie is just kind of, he doesn't really talk much because he's just sort of in training, and a lot of the last 30 minutes is process and business and behind the scenes, looking at the way that this UFC type event, it's not actually the UFC, but this mixed martial arts championship is set up, and how it's run, and how the logistics of it work.
And how the corruption can fit in there.
Yes. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of love that. I don't love necessarily everything about the ending, but I love how much David Mamet just really delves into... this movie doesn't really ever show us the action in the ring, but what it does do is it shows us the thing that you, the layperson, are not likely to see, which is the interplay between the fighters backstage, and the the representative from the California, regulatory body coming in and making announcements to everyone that you have to sign this paperwork, this waiver acknowledging the health and safety risks of this, and the different technical producers and PAs and stuff kind of, you need to be here at this time, and okay, and hey, you're going to draw marbles beforehand, and here's the process of how drawing the marbles works.
how much of that is intentionally demystifying the kind of romanticism of the fight thing? Like, if the whole thing is like jiu-jitsu is supposed to be self-defense and art unto itself, not to be commercialized, we are putting, by watching these fights, we're putting it on a pedestal. How much of showing the bureaucracy, the technical logistics of things is supposed to go, this isn't the what you think of as, the high octane fight is, not as interesting as you think. It is so orchestrated. There's so much nonsense that goes into it that takes away from the art form.
Yeah, I think that's very much what's trying to be represented here, because the contrast of it with the way that the jiu-jitsu is presented in Mike's studio. I mean, there's a scene earlier where he has a lesson. Laura, the lawyer, has signed up to take self-defense classes with him, and the way that the lesson starts is they both sit there in complete silence for a few minutes, and he says, the hardest part is leaving the outside. And everything about the way that the championship is set up, the outside is inside. There is noise and confusion and people walking around talking about shit that isn't Brazilian jiu-jitsu all the time. Seems to be the suggestion is that this is sort of impure, and this is why he doesn't do it.
So one thing worth mentioning too is that as this is being set up, Mike knows he's stepping into this type of game that has been exploited from him, the marble, scenario.
Yeah.
And the way that it is being orchestrated is that a person, we don't see who because he's wearing like a traditional ancient mask, enters the ring with the marbles. The fighters take them, and the masked person leaves with the marbles, and you never really see what happens with these marbles, right?
Yeah. Another thing that I also really do like about this is that very early on, there's a scene of Ricky Jay talking about playing up the racial aspects of this, that it's going to be this Japanese fighter versus a Brazilian fighter, and trying to lean into that and inflame racial tensions around it. But so now that they've stolen this gimmick of the marbles, they're really playing it up as like, this is an ancient Japanese fighting technique. And so there's like taiko drummers marching around, and like the guy with the marbles is wearing this old traditional like Japanese looking mask that is probably not actually traditional, but like, some kind of kabuki shit.
Can you imagine them trying to pull this shit in 2025?
I cannot. And I can also imagine David Mamet grousing that wokeness won't let them try to pull this shit in 2025. But I just do love how stupid it is that like this guy is wearing this really ridiculous mask and like robe, and he can't even see out of it, so he has to be guided onto the stage by a PA.
But as it turns out, we watch this masked man go behind the scenes, and Mike watches him and is able to get a glimpse as he walks by his dressing room. He takes the mask off, and who is it, Truman?
Prepare to get your mind freaked. It's that magician from the bar, not Chris Angel, but the one with the color changing dice.
Oh my God! Wait, are you possibly suggesting that this magician, this sleight of hand expert, might indicate that this game is rigged?
Well, I mean, how could we know for sure unless we see a shot of him with a black marble passing his hand over it, turning it into a white marble?
Like he's already performed his task on TV. Why is he still doing it in the dressing room?
Okay, actually, no, this tracks. This is another damn it, Mamet, I love you. The magician is really in it for love of the game. Like, he can't help himself. He's doing sleight of hand tricks for nobody at the bar. This guy is so high on his own supply, he wants to do it alone in the dressing room. But I do love, though, yes, that for all the crassness that, they've gone out of their way to depict fairly realistically and in a kind of process-based way, this is how a mixed martial arts competition operates. This is Hollywood and the skeeviness and kind of criminality and unethicality. That's a word. That word exists.
We're filling out the dictionary tonight.
that this is what all exists around it. But then it's like, and how is this very realistic world corrupted?
By magic.
He just rides away on a unicorn at the end of the night.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So,
but okay, but that's an impetus for like, this is another part where how to describe what happens in this final moment. So, as Mike sees that not only has his idea been stolen, it's also being perverted. Like, not only are you not representing this code of honor that you've stolen from me, you are using it for purely performative, reasons. Purely commercialized reasons. You're not even abiding by the code of honor of the very thing that you stole from me.
Yes.
And in a typical action movie, this would be the Commando moment, right? Like, I'm gonna fucking take down everyone in this building, Dredd going up all 13 stories of the building, taking down one person at a time. And we don't get that, which is good because this is not what this movie's doing, but we get the like emotional version of that, or like the philosophical version of that. Like, he can't be stopped. People, like security guards, try to stop him, and he doesn't like fight them, but as they're trying to like hold him back, he's like shrugging them off without any problem. Like, he's able to flip them over and just keep walking forward no matter what.
Yeah, like, and to fill in some of the connective tissue, he sees this, he tries to notify Ricky Jay and the people running the fight, and they basically tell him, yeah, we know it's rigged. We're rigging the whole undercard match so that everyone you fight will have a handicap and you will not, so that way you can get the money and then we can bring you back for a rematch in a few months. He leaves. He's like, no, I'm not going to participate in this. Also, his professor who taught him Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is there watching, and he doesn't...
This whole thing.
Yes, the professor is his name. Not from Gilligan's Island, a different kind of professor. But, so it's too dishonorable. He pulls out. He's not going to fight. He's not going to get the money. He leaves. Yeah. He then is talking to Laura the lawyer outside. We don't see the conversation, or we don't hear the conversation. We just see them talk in this long shot, and then she slaps him in the face.
Which I don't really get, but okay.
I think, is she just saying you're being dishonorable for just walking away and allowing this to proceed? I don't know. But then after that, he goes back in, and he kind of does, I think, have his Commando moment, because there's one of the journalists there who's doing play-by-play commentary on it.
Randy Couture, the actual IFC fighter who's in the Expendables?
Yes, Randy Couture. Yes, I knew that I knew him from somewhere. Yes. Randy Couture plays this guy, his last name is Flynn, who's like some kind of ringside commentator. And so Mike goes back in and is chasing him down, yelling, "Mr. Flynn! Mr. Flynn!" It's honestly very intense. I was actually kind of hooting and hollering at this point because I was so excited, like, because this whole third act has been just ramping up to he's going to go in the ring and fight, and we're finally going to see him fighting in the ring. And then at the last second, he decides, no, I'm not going to fight. And I, as the person who doesn't want to really see fighting in his movie and doesn't really want to see sports in a sports movie, I'm like, fuck yes, there's no sports at all. But then he comes back in and is trying to just get to this journalist to tell him this whole thing is rigged, and the journalist is already behind like the red velvet rope or whatever, and all these security guards are coming after him. And then it's him fighting off like half a dozen security guards trying to get down this hallway, and he's like shrugging them away, he's flipping them over.
It's not like an old boy fighting off sort of thing. It's like they're all trying to stop him. He's so laser focused on the ring and just shrugs them off. Like, he's not throwing punches, he's not throwing elbows. They're like wrapping their arms around him to hold him back, and he's just able to kind of, hip, what's the term?
Hip check.
Flip him over your hip.
Yeah,
where
it's probably not
just puts them on the ground without like losing one iota of momentum as he's laser focused on the ring.
Yes, exactly. But I'm seeing this and I'm loving it, because it's like, oh, he's not fighting in the ring in a competition. He's always been about like, these skills are there to, train and to better yourself and to use when you need them for great purpose to defend honor. And it's like, oh, he's putting his fighting skills into use now for an honorable purpose, which is protecting the honor of the form. But so he fights through all these security guards, yes.
this is where it enters into fantasy to me, though, where
Yes.
like
Yes.
the satisfying ending to reward the philosophy that has permeated this film requires this ending. But in reality, this ending makes no sense. Like, the second that he flips a security guard over his hip, like, he'd be tased.
Yes.
No amount of jujitsu is going to save you from 30,000 volts.
It's incredible. Like, he dispatches quite efficiently about 6 seemingly unarmed security guards, or maybe they've got, like, billy clubs or something. But, like, in an earlier scene, we saw him talking to a couple of cops who were there, who were, like, friends of Joe, who are, like, mad at him because Joe killed himself. But those cops do not seem to be there anymore. There seems to be, after he beats up those 6 security guards, then no one is trying to stop him. Nobody seems concerned. He then, Bruno, the like, one of the title card fighters, challenges him, like, off to the side of the ring. They still aren't at the ring. They're kind of off to the edge of the bleachers. And so then he and Bruno fight.
We're getting shots of the television cameras kind of like searching the crowd and you know, the spotlight finding them and locking on them, and suddenly the TV show isn't what's happening in the ring, but what's happening outside the ring.
Yes. And this is completely bonkers. Again, they've spent so much time setting up the like exacting realism and regulation placed on this sport.
Right.
How everything is constructed and carefully and for legal purposes and health and safety purposes. But it's like, if you're the organizers of this event and you see 2 people brawling not as part of the event in the crowd, and your reaction,
2 of your components contenders, by the way.
Yeah, one of whom is on the main title, like he's the title card person, and your reaction to that isn't get security to shut that down, but instead, put a spotlight on it, put cameras on it, let's market this unregulated fight between where one of the competitors just assaulted 6 of my employees. It's like, this is going to get your license taken away. You're going to get shut down. You're going to get sued into oblivion. And it's like, ordinarily I would suspend my disbelief if this was a cheeky action movie, but no, like, David Mamet did the work to show that this is very real world. But at this point, like, you know, he defeats this guy, and then he just walks into the ring all beaten up and motions to them, and they start lowering the microphone to him. Because, like, okay, sure, you beat up 7 people, now we have to let you talk. At this point, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, bro, David Mamet, are you an occurrence at Owl Creek bridging me right now? Am I getting an occurrence at Owl Creek bridged? Like, is he hallucinating all of this? Are we just going to cut to him sitting in his car at the end, or what is this?
Yeah. It's called getting pierced.
But I don't know. I don't think we got pierced, unless... Do you think this is a beer sting?
I mean, are you asking me to posit a fan theory that this all happened inside his head?
I don't know what I'm supposed to take away when so much effort was put into making this realistic, and then all kind of rules of reality or the actual world seem to fall away in the last 5 minutes.
I'm going to quote David Mamet from the audio commentary.
Ooh.
Not on what he has to say about this moment, but from something a phrase he uses elsewhere in the audio commentary to describe the messiness of this moment.
Okay.
And this is verbatim, exact words from David Mamet.
Okay.
Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. I think... David Mamet uses that phrase on the audio commentary, and I think this moment is writing yourself into a thematic corner that you can't get out of, and so lean into the fantasy of it, as messy as it is, and maybe as unsatisfying as it is. Like, this is, and it goes even further than this. Like, the professor, the end all be all guru of jiu-jitsu, watching this, is like, I mean, he doesn't say this, but like the vibe is, as he stands up and applauds Mike, like, you have, just by choosing not to fight in a commercial fight, have proven everything there is to prove about the philosophy behind jiu-jitsu. You now are the master. You now are the guru.
it goes beyond that. Like, he's walking up to the ring after defeating Bruno, and then like the other guy,
the belt is given to
yeah,
him.
the other guy who's gonna fight, the Japanese contender, comes down and hands him his very rare, like, super coveted gold belt or whatever, and he takes that, and then he gets in the ring and is motioning like, okay, give me the microphone so I can explain to everyone here that this match is rigged and everyone will have to believe me. But then, before he can talk, yes, the professor has gotten up from his seat, walked down, gone to the ring, and then hands him his red belt, the titular red belt, of which there is only one in the world. So he's presented with two different belts. And this almost feels like the end of one of those email forwards your grandma sends you, where it's like, and then everyone burst into applause after the wise Marine schooled the liberal college professor about church and state, like that every, you know, and that boy's name was Albert Einstein.
Yeah, and it's to bring listeners into this, if you haven't watched it, like, explaining it, it's hard not to just relish the ridiculousness of this. To the film's credit, I mean, there is, while it totally separates from reality, there is an emotional reality to it that resonates to a degree.
Yeah.
And as ludicrous as it was, I didn't find myself, like, rolling my eyes or laughing at it. But it's impossible to, like, actually explain what happens in any kind of, like, serious manner.
It's like, I'm not mad about it, because this is not a situation where, oh, the writer was incompetent or didn't think it through or half-assed it. David Mamet wanted it to be this way.
Yeah. And again, it would have had much different vibes and not have worked at all if this was Steven Seagal and not Chiwetel Ejiofor.
This is like Steven Seagal thinks about the last 5 minutes of this movie in his most intimate moments. This is like the dream of like just beating up 7 people and then having the adulation of an entire crowd and the intellectual forefather of your martial art.
My God.
But yeah, he's presented with the red belt, and then the professor hugs him, and end of movie. That
end of movie.
That's red belt, everybody.
I want to mention, just before we wrap up here and go into our usual final moments, that this comes at an interesting point in Tim Allen's career, in that 2008 is after both of the Santa Claus sequels. It's in a weird nether zone for him, like only a year or two before Last Man Standing starts, and I feel like this is Tim Allen's experimental phase.
Yeah.
Like, he dips his toe into dramatic territory, doesn't do much. Maybe he feels uncomfortable, not interested in it. But what he goes to after this, writing and directing, well, I shouldn't say writing, he's not credited.
Sure. Wink. Do you think
Crazy on the Outside? Like, 2000, he does, a couple Toy Story voiceovers, but like, he goes from this to, you know what? I saw David do it. Let me try my hand at, at a red belt called Crazy on the Outside.
And much in the same way that Redbelt is David Mamet writing a script about something he's very passionate about, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Crazy on the Outside is a movie about something Tim Allen is very passionate about, which is Tim Allen being good at sex and wanting to open a small business using hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you think, Crazy on the Outside notably has a really stacked cast of people who Tim Allen worked with at various other times in his career.
Yes.
Do you think that when Tim Allen was modifying the original script for Crazy on the Outside, do you think he passed it along to David Mamet for some uncredited rewrites, a little script doctoring?
I was just dip our toe into Cinest waters here. I was recently rewatching Bogdanovich's first film, Targets, and there's a lot of lore about that movie of uncredited writing and rewrites by Sam Fuller and Fritz Lang, who all like contributed these big ideas to it.
Yeah.
there is something. There's a perverted delight I get out of the idea that Tim Allen floated this by like Barry Levinson and David Mamet.
Like, you know that David Mamet at least was sent a copy of the shooting script for Crazy on the Outside. Like, he and Tim had a conversation about it, at least.
Maybe. Allegedly. We got to be careful, Truman.
Of course.
Anyway, so I wanted to earmark that as like this weird kind of midlife crisis area for Tim Allen's career.
I feel like Tim Allen has been having a midlife crisis for like longer than I've been alive. I've come back to Grunt Work and to Tim Allen discussion, and that is my new revelation. That's the new thing I have to say about the matter.
Well, let's put this episode on the mat.
Ooh.
And
you know the move. You know the move.
Answer our questions. Why was this movie forgotten?
This movie is a mixed martial arts movie that does not have very much mixed martial arts in it. So if you are watching a trailer for this movie and you are a guy who likes Brazilian jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, you are going to be very excited. You are going to go see this movie. You are going to get very little of the thing that you think this movie is about. And you're probably going to be disappointed by it. And also, you're probably going to be kind of disappointed by the quality of the fighting overall and how it's filmed and represented. Like, even when there's fighting on screen, it's kind of like herky-jerky and you can't really see all the moves. If you are a person who is more of the me persuasion, where you see that a movie is going to be about sports in the trailer and you immediately close your eyes, you're not going to see this movie and maybe not guess that it's actually a character-driven kind of noir-esque movie about morals and the Bushido Code. So basically, the people who are going to be hooked by the premise of your movie aren't going to like it, and the people who are put off by the premise of your movie but might like it aren't going to see it. So that just put Redbelt in a headlock that it could not escape from. I think
it did not know the moves.
Yeah, it did not. It didn't see that movie all the right moves. Why do you think it was forgotten?
Yeah, we touched a little bit on this, but I'll just summarize. Like, there's no big hook to this movie the way that Glengarry Glen Ross has the brass balls. Like, there's no gifable moments here. There's no memeable moments.
Yeah, I guess not.
It wasn't based on a stage play, as we said earlier, so it didn't like garner the attention. Like, would Glengarry Glen Ross have any attraction to it just as a movie without the kind of backing of all of the stage play behind it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, didn't have the attention or the accolades going into it. Not that it necessarily needs those things, but then when you combine it with what you said, it's just like there's an audience of one for this, and it's David Mamet.
David Mamet and Anthony Bourdain. I feel like Anthony Bourdain loved this movie.
And maybe Ed O'Neill.
And Steven Seagal.
and Landon Solano and Tim Meadows.
Okay, listen, that is a dream blunt rotation right there.
Oh my god. All right, so I got to be honest. This is where we go into the verdict. Do we send this back to modern memory, away from 2008, back to 2025, or do we leave it forgotten, floating out here in the forgotten realm of space-time? And I have no idea where you fall. And to be honest, even after this conversation, I'm not sure what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I know. It's funny that this is a key premise of our podcast and something that I knew was coming, and I'm just now realizing I didn't actually think that hard about my answer. I'm honestly, my soul is telling me to say yes. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance, my pronunciation of his name has changed so much over this episode. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm trying. I looked up pronunciation details. I'm doing my best. I have huge respect for the man. I've loved him in so many movies. I think he's a tremendous actor, and this might be one of his best performances. He is electrifying in this movie.
Yeah, wouldn't deny that. Having seen a lot of his electrifying performances, this doesn't quite touch the heights that I have seen him get to before. But,
okay.
It is good. It is good. I'm not going to take that away from him or you.
Listen, it's been a minute since I've seen Children of Men, but there's that scene in it where he, like, points the gun at the dude, and he's like, if you break protocol again, I will kill you. And it's so
I forgot he was
intense.
in that movie.
Oh, he rules. He was in that movie and Serenity in the same year.
I was going to say, I remember Serenity. Yeah.
He's good in that, too.
Yeah.
He fucking rocks. So, yeah, I'm going to say... I'm going to say remember this movie on the strength of his performance and the fact that there's a bunch of scenes in it that I genuinely enjoy. And I like it being a sports movie that isn't about sports. I like how much it must have pissed off sports people who thought they were going to get a sports movie.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you. I'm very torn on this one because there is a lot that I like here, and I've touched on a lot of it. You've touched on a lot of it. I really respond to movies that have an unconventional approach to things.
Yeah.
I have to put an asterisk next to this verdict though by stating that some of the live honorably shit feels like it's aged a little not great due to the philosophy of dangerous people in the world.
Yeah.
But like there's enough peculiarities with this of being the only dramatic Tim Allen performance, being a great performance by Chiwetel, like being a sports movie without being a sports movie, that like, and how many mixed martial arts movies are there? Like this one and Warrior
and Never Back Down, and I think The Fighter,
the Mark Wahlberg Fighter.
I think, yeah.
No, that's boxing.
I don't know, man. Boxing. I don't know, man. It's a fucking sport. I don't know. Is it a football movie? You only get more points than the other guy. Oh, play action. Oh, he goes hard in the paint. Oh, I threw a 3-pointer. Fuck it. Go to the opera, nerds.
I also love that you hate sports so much, but you're able to pull Never Back Down out as an example.
I do research, Landon. Someone on Reddit was talking about Never Back Down, and I was like, oh, that must be about mixed martial arts.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's make it official. Let's send it back.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. Before we end this episode, I just want to remind everyone the 5 ways that you can help support the Grunt Work Podcast Network, which hosts both Grunt Work and Movie Memory Machine. And those ways are: A, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod. For as little as $1, you can get access to all the bonus content, plus your money helps keep the show afloat. Really appreciate it. It keeps it ad-free. Hell yeah. Way number 2 is rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps get people seeing the show that they might not have otherwise. Way number 3, like, follow, and subscribe on social media. Check your local listings for wherever we might be. It's Movie Memory Machine or Movie Memory Pod. We're there specifically on YouTube and Letterboxd. Way number 4, tell a friend. 1-to-1 word of mouth recommendation definitely is the way to go to get someone to listen to the show. Do it any way you can. Really, really appreciate you spreading the word. And the 5th and final way, come talk to us. Join us on our Discord, which you can get access to over at moviememory.com for a positive social media experience and talking about movies. We hope to see you there.
We appreciate anything that you can do so much. So whichever those 5 ways best suits your life and what you can do, we are super thankful for it.
All right. Well, let's see if the machine accepts today's twofer episode.
All right, let's just push the button and see what we get.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Okay.
It's moving.
Yeah, okay. Love to hear a printer making sounds. I never thought I'd say that. All right. Okay, it looks like next we're heading to March 8th, 2024.
I'm not sure that the machine is completely fixed yet. I can't make sense of this clue. It says Dudda. Hold on. It's spelled
like a Law and Order sound?
Kinda, maybe. DUH-DUHHHH.
Dudda. Wait. That sounds kind of like the Netflix sound.
Dudda. Are you sure it's not the Mac starting up noise?
If we have to go to some kind of Mac dimension, I'm gonna jump into space.
That's just one noise. That's just doom. Yeah. All right. So da-da.
I love that we spent so much time telling people to support us, and then we just proceed to spend 5 minutes just going da-da into the microphone again and again. Wait, so if that's the Netflix sound, does that mean we're doing a Netflix movie?
It can't be. Netflix movies aren't released wide theatrically. It goes against our whole show.
Yeah, it doesn't even make any sense. Wait, what's that out the window? It's like a big wormhole opening up.
It's the streaming dimension.
My God, it's full of forgettable movies.
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Grunt Work Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit moviememorymachine.com.
Does everybody know what time it is? What?
Has it been that long?
I had a lot built up.
Oh my God. Let's take it down a notch. Just a half a notch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I came in too hot. That's fine. We'll get a fresh one. That's fine. A little less. I'm sorry. I'm in Al Pacino mode right now.